We are live.
Excellent stuff. We've got ourselves a chat room open as well. You may notice a slight change. We don't have a countdown as anything, purely because at this point I'm not well. I'm currently in my bedroom and I'm just resting up. I may have to kind of vanish at various points throughout the course, but we'll do our best to stay as communicative as possible. We'll go with that.
And this is the reason why things are a little wonky today.
A little wonky.
Also, so at a moment's notice, I can stop broadcast in case.
Well, not so much stop broadcast, just more a case of take over.
Yes.
As the screen goes blank for a while. But yes, I'm not in the best of shape, unfortunately. But thank you very much indeed for joining us. We are going to be diving into this in the next couple of minutes. I know Alyssa's kind of doing a little bit more in terms of setting up the rest of the show. We have a script for today, so we are going to be talking. No guests, unfortunately. We did actually have 5 guests lined up this week. 3 of them, as it happens, have had to cancel. 2 because they were in direct line of fire, and 1 because they had to go home for family, because, of course, Hurricane Harvey has hit in the south of Texas. It's if you've been following along, the beginning of the weekend, Friday and Saturday, was when it was going to be the main cause of concern. However, it is an ongoing storm event, and at this point, people are still very concerned about that. We are going to touch on that very shortly indeed. Don't forget, if you do want to jump in on the Q&A, of course, anything that you want to talk about today, do let us know if there's anything that you want to discuss. But we have ourselves a reasonably full lid, so we've got enough to talk about today. But no guests, unfortunately, because of that. The other reason as well, we did have 2 other guests who cancelled on Thursday purely because they suddenly looked at the diary and realised that it's Bank Holiday Monday here in the UK, and they would have been quite easily beaten up by their other significant halves if they suddenly realised that they would not be attending family events or going off away on trips or whatever. They just suddenly went, crap, it's Bank Holiday weekend. We can't stay. So unfortunately, we have no guests. We do have a couple of guests lined up for the next couple of weeks, though, so do stick with us. And of course, if there's anybody that you would like us to get on Talking Comic-Con, please do let us know. Oh, Alyssa's ranting and raving there for a second. If there's anybody that you do want us to get on the show, do let us know by contacting us on Twitter, or indeed just dropping us an email on the contact form. Let us know if there's anybody you would like us to get onto the show. And indeed, if you're an exhibitor or a con organizer or an artist, a talent that has something to promote, maybe you are attending a convention in the near future, do let us know, and we will love to have you on to talk about your experiences and the things that you're getting up to in the near future. But we've got a couple of people on the Q&A already. Andrew English is joining us. I would like to hear more about London Super Comic-Con. We are going to touch on it because I've been reading on the timeline about that particular show. But do let me know what your thoughts on it were. We also have ourselves Graham Small joining us. Craig Linders is joining us. Hello there, guys. Dan Berry, next week is Long Beach Comic-Con indeed. Ryan Jenkins is confirmed to be at Thought Bubble. That's good. I mean, a lot of people are kind of confirming that they're attending that particular show. But I think that we're going to touch on this as well. How the convention calendar has kind of affected London Super Comic-Con this weekend. But we're a good minute away from kind of kicking off properly. Or 30 seconds or so. And then we'll jump in. But of course, if there's once again anything that you want to talk about, do jump in on the Q&A. As always, thank you very much indeed to everybody who has visited an Englishman in San Diego this week, especially for all of the posts that I've been putting up. I did say that I was going to be trying to get up a post about the the logo that we have for the UK attendees group. Hopefully, I'll have that typed up later on this evening. But as you can appreciate, I have been kind of distracted, so I haven't been able to put my full attention onto that post. But thank you very much indeed for everyone who has taken the time to look at my State of the Union post, which I did about Hall H, and also the What You Can Do Right Now post, which I put up as well. Thank you very much indeed. Yes, thank you very much indeed to everyone who commented that that was quite the read, and I could have perhaps split that down into 2 or 3 posts. Okay. I may have overdone it on that one. Yes, perhaps. But I got in as much as I possibly could. I think it's reasonably comprehensive about the things that you can do about Comic-Con now.
Since we're in the 5-minute window, I'm just going to say I threw it over to Leonard. We started the show. I threw it over to Leonard with the idea that asking him whether or not he could actually speak for the full 5 minutes, because I was technologically behind. My keyboard wasn't working. I couldn't get the Q&A and up. Da-da-da-da-da. And he assured me he would have no problem talking for 5 minutes straight. So I am not surprised you did a long post.
Are you saying to me? Are you saying that I just waffle on?
At times.
I think that the post is full of constructive information, and it's not all killer, no filler.
Is that going to be your quote?
That'll be my quote. So there we go. That's my tagline. So there we go. Right, it is now 6 o'clock, so I think we can pretty much dive in. Okay, are you set up now?
I am. My keyboard is working. I can actually respond to people and put up links and all of that sort of stuff. I need to actually look at the script now to figure out what I'm supposed to be talking about.
Well, I'm currently looking at the Q&A. Thank you very much indeed for everyone for joining in. Right, so welcome to Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard Sultana, and thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's the 27th of August 2017, and plenty of stuff happening this weekend, including me not being exactly 100% well at this point. In other words, it would have been actually, it's rather coincidental and lucky that I didn't actually end up going to London Super Comic-Con, because it really would have kind of ruined my event. I wouldn't have been able to really get into it on the final day. But the other reason is I didn't go to London Super Comic-Con is purely because of funds. So no live report, I'm afraid. However, we have been following social media, and we're going to get into that in a bit. I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime, which is Alyssa Franks from the Friends of Comic-Con Forum. Hello, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm well. As you said, we are very concerned about everybody in South Texas. I know a couple of people who got flew out of San Antonio the day before it hit. People from the music industry who were doing shows there, and they were able to get out. I'm still waiting to hear back on one friend who lives on the coast, but luckily all the relatives live much farther inland. So it seems like a devastating situation there with the flooding that's happening. Certainly on the scale.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I've got a link here, which, if you are wanting to show support, the best place is American Red Cross. If you head to redcross.org, they do have links up to take financial support, if you would like to show your thoughts to everyone affected by Hurricane Harvey in South Texas. The full link. Oh, you're going to put the full link up? Okay. Full link.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll read it up, and I'll certainly share it on social media. It's redcross.org/local/texas/gulf-coast/disaster-response. It's a long link, but if you do head to redcross.org, there is a link there which will take you to the local page. But please do donate where you can. I mean, I think I've put $5 into the kitty. It's not much, but it helps any way you can, because it really is. It's not only that, but it's an ongoing thing. It's a settled storm climate, and it's not going anywhere just yet. So please do donate where you can. Okay, so yeah, what's been happening this week? I mean, anything in terms of the Friends of Comic-Con Forum for you?
Well, I mean, I'm going to dive right into SDCC news, because that's what a lot of people have been talking about. We've been talking about the fact that pre-reg is probably, we think we've got a poll up on the site, and we think it's probably going to happen the first part of November. I'm still holding out hope for October, given the fact of the child returns being done at the end of September.
Yeah, same here. I'm thinking sooner rather than later. I think they're going to want to kind of combat any of the criticism they got from last year from running it as late as they possibly did. Yeah, I think I would hedge my bets and say earlier. But if that's what people are saying, that's what people are saying.
Yeah, that's the beauty of polls, is that you get everybody's opinion, which is great. The other thing we're talking about is the fact that on the Saturday Hall H line with the issues with the fake wristbands, Eddie had came out and said that the people who didn't get into Hall H would be given free tickets for next year. And those email notifications, we're hearing reports that they've gone out. We don't have an email to show everybody of what the actual verbiage is, but we are assuming that they will be getting comp badges, which means that they would not have been bought it. They wouldn't have bought a ticket, so they wouldn't be eligible for pre-reg in 2019.
Really? Right. Okay.
Don't know this. This is guesstimates on our part. We have not heard a confirmation one way or the other. I think this was just brought up. So it will be interesting to see how that's handled and whether or not they actually give an exception for those comp badges. And I could certainly see them doing an exception.
Yeah.
It's no fault of theirs. And Eddie did make that offer, and it would be the nice thing to do, and CCI is a nice company. So
I think it was a highly generous thing for them to do in the first place, and yeah, you're right. I think it would be something that they could do to just kind of to extend the olive branch further for those people that were shortchanged in the whole H line. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what's been happening. I did hear, and I saw that you also had posted some information about Zombie Walk.
I did indeed. Right. Well, first things first, let's dive into just the overview of the weekend, because of course we've got various events that are taking place this weekend. London Super Comic-Con here in the UK. Wizard World Chicago is happening this weekend at the moment. Amazing Hawaii Comic-Con, Vermont Comic-Con, Colorado Springs, Comic-Con Palm Springs, Comic-Con Ecuador, going a little bit further afield. I know that we've got a couple of cast members from Gotham that are out there promoting that one. Sri Lanka Comic-Con and Asia Pop Comic-Con. Asia Pop is pulling some serious numbers, and I'd really like to do a little bit more research into that, because that event really, I mean, the Asian Comic-Con market, and certainly the Japanese and that kind of so like Singapore, that kind of area. I mean, I'd like to try and get that. We have a good friend of ours on the podcast that does follow, and I would like to try and get her involved, because I know that she wants to do a report from Singapore Comic-Con. That whole arena when it comes to pop culture is just exploding when it comes to cons. So I'd like to really get into that as well.
Isn't that done by Repop, or am I conflating it with another con?
It's another con. Well, certainly Singapore is a separate con. It's a separate event, but I think Asia Pop is a Repop event. Right. So, in terms of the update that we put up for the legal situation with Zombie Walk, yes, this is come from an update which was put up on Facebook, which was quite disturbing, actually, because it really was something that we hoped there was going to be some development, that was going to be something that we was going to be seeing some kind of closure. Matthew Pockey's car was the one that struck a bunch of pedestrians that were walking through downtown Gaslamp. This was in 2014. And basically, the judge awarded against Matthew Pockey, saying that his court case against Zombie Walk was to be dropped, and that there would be no further legal ramifications for the driver. However, the passengers of the car, apparently, which were his now wife, his sister, and his stepson, are suing Zombie Walk, citing alleged mental health issues sustained from the incident. The situation, unfortunately, is that she can't afford the legal standings to keep going, and she does need a lawyer to keep going through the legal proceedings. We are asking as support if there's anybody who knows of any body that could possibly help with that situation, certainly in providing legal assistance. If you could get in contact with Zombie Walk San Diego, she needs the. I personally think she needs the help, and we're a fan and a supporter of her efforts. Anybody that wants to try and put something on during Comic-Con and then have this happen, which has just caused her so much heartache over the last few years, it's just it's destroying. So I really do hope that she kind of can pull things together. That's SD Zombie Walk on Facebook, if you want to follow the situation, or indeed if you can provide any help and assistance, that would be most appreciated. Right, that was the updates I know that we had on line in terms of things that we wanted to cover. But let's get into the things that have happened this weekend. London Super Comic-Con that has taken place. Now, we've got a couple of people on the Q&A that have joined us today, who have been to London Super Comic-Con this weekend. That will be Andrew English and Graham Small. Basically, the reports have been that it has not been the event that they hoped it would be, especially considering the talent pool that were going to be or have been in attendance. This has happened at the Business Design Centre in London, which is in Hammersmith, and has happened over the course of the last 3 days. I think it's something that's just closed, or it closed a couple of hours ago, so it has just wrapped up. But like I say, the actual people that have been involved this year have been jaw-dropping. Brian Michael Bendis, Lee Bergamo, Gabrielle Delotto, Terry Dodson, just going down the line, Jay Lee, Bob McLeod, Dan Slott, it's just Simone Bianchi, Laura Braga, Mark Buckingham. It's just been an amazing talent pool. However, the comments... Oh, sorry, Islington. I do apologise. Andrew English is following along. And yes, it's been a late bunch of nights as well, because I know it's been going through to like 8 o'clock on some of the evenings. However, London Super Comic-Con finished today at 2 o'clock, Artist Alley at 3:30, panels at 4. Big change from 6 when at the XL, this was on a Sunday. From what I can gather, the primary issues have been the way that the artists have been shuffled into the building in terms of where they've been placed. They've felt that they've been kind of put a little bit in a back room, as it were, so much so that the footfall has been particularly light, but also the actual footfall to the whole event has been a bit quieter than usual. The comments that have been coming up on my social media have been mostly because of the crossbleed against other events that are taking place in the very near future. You do have Thought Bubble that takes place in a couple of weekends' time. You've got ICE that takes place in Birmingham in 2 weekends. You've got Lakes coming up as well at the end of the month. Basically, there's just so many events, and people have been wondering if perhaps London Super Comic-Con has really hurt itself in moving to this period of the year. It's now turned into a very tight convention calendar here in the UK. So much so, we would have had NICE as well, which is the event that takes place in Bedford. They didn't run in 2017, I think purely because of this kind of situation. You've got things like Notting Hill Carnival, you've got the Bank Holiday Weekend, you've got so many other distractions and so many conventions which artists and talent can decide to attend, one or the other, at which point London Super Comic-Con has taken quite the hit. Andrew English is hearing word that they are going to try for February again. That could be a little bit too close, perhaps, since it's just run now in August. So that I don't know. Graham Small, it wasn't so super. Very low key, poorly signposted and laid out. I was only there on Friday and think there were less than 500 people there. Can you tell me what time that was? Because that is decidedly shocking. If you could let us know what time that was particularly poor. So yes, please let me know. So there we go. I don't know what you've been spotting online, Alyssa, but I mean, the attendees that did go have had a great time, from what I can tell. I mean, Brian Michael Bendis in particular has been incredibly popular. And he's really enjoyed himself.
Right. I think that the people who are going are the long-term convention people who've been doing it for quite a while. So they know how to push through this. But the backloading of the season into putting everything in August does seem to be taking its toll. I mean, I know that we've also got a report in from Dave, and you're gonna
Dave Gersplatch.
Gersplatch, from Wizard World Chicago, and he was saying to quote him, he was saying that there's very wide aisles with a lot of empty booth space. It's nice for walking around, but it can't be good for the con. And he overheard.
So where was this?
This was at Wizard World Chicago.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So granted, other side, of the pond, so to speak, but
No.
I think it goes to the concentration of conventions in August. One of the reasons why I loved Boston Comic-Con so much was because it was originally in April, and it got us in the mood for going. It spread the season out and got us in the mood and ready for going to cons. And then they decided to cash in on the August kids out of school thing, and went then. So it's not surprising to me.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about that and the whole people making that decision of whether to attend a convention or indeed, because it's a bank holiday weekend, it's a holiday weekend where you'd think that you'd have the opportunity to kind of relax and enjoy something like this. But then, like you say, it proves a bit awkward when you then have family and other halves that want to kind of take you away and have a family of it, a family thing of it. That especially when you've got something like London Super Comic-Con, which is very much about comics. It's a very niche. It is still a very niche fandom. So it's not something where you can take kids to some degree, because there's not so much in terms of distractions for them. I mean, there's been some great cosplay on display at London Super Comic-Con, but you kind of understand it's a very focused event.
I wonder if they would do just as well if it was a smaller convention. Just as they didn't necessarily try and pull in the big names.
This has been another part of the conversation that I was having today about London Super Comic-Con, basically saying that perhaps we could see a return to more smaller, like village hall events, where it kind of takes it back to the more... I'm trying to work out a way of describing it. You can tell I'm ill. Very much a more intimate kind of surrounding,
and more of a weekend thing. So you could take the family for a half a day, and with the kids, and go down and see, peruse through some long boxes, see some talent, and go out to lunch. That kind of just an easy day, as opposed to, I am going to spend the whole weekend and I'm going to go to con and I will see this and this and this, and I'm going to cosplay, and instead of trying to make an event, which seems like the market is so oversaturated with.
You know what? Yeah, I can see that. I can
You know,
also see the appeal of that as well.
well, this is from a man
Considering,
on sick
yeah,
bed.
when I invented, well, there is that as well. But when I've attended two events back to, and yeah, event conventions back to back this summer, a nice niche village hall kind of thing sounds very appealing. So there we go. Graham Small, this was a small location in London, but it was advertised as a major con. It was my first London Super Comic-Con. I only went because I was working in the area, but I was in and out in an hour. That's
Wow.
never great. But there we go. I mean, what I did have been reading, certainly when it comes to the talent pool. I mean, certainly Brian Michael Bendis has been loving his stay in London. He also quite likes the idea that the organisers were very accommodating to him, and indeed, from what I've been hearing, they have been very helpful to the talent that have been attending. It's just the venue and the way that it was laid out. Brian arrived a little bit early, was told that there were lines waiting for him, and yeah, you were looking around a 2-hour ballpark to actually get something signed by Brian Michael Bendis this weekend. And do you want me to jump on early? Yes, I will. And he did, and he jumped on early. He was incredibly accommodating to the fans, because I think he appreciated that it's a rare thing for him to come to the UK. So yeah, it was. From what I've been reading, he was a star. He was a diamond. So yeah, fair play to the guy. So yeah, there we go.
It kind of, I mean, brings up the other bit of news that we had today, this past week, about Wizard World's second quarter profits being down by 50%, which I found to be rather kind of
dive into that.
That, you know, to be rather interesting. That, I mean, it also kind of goes back to what David G, I'm just going to call him that, said about Wizard World. The Wizard World Chicago convention was that David Tennant had to cancel during his convention, and at the last minute, but at least Wizard World did refund all of their tickets and was trying to be very helpful to the fans. That said, it can't have helped their bottom line if they're having to do this type of thing for one of their big name talents. I know that they had a couple of companions, Doctor Who companions, at the con, and had done a lot of photo ops with the three of them, and those must have been a pretty high ticket item. So I think it goes to the restructuring. Maybe we're seeing the restructuring of the pop culture convention scene. We're seeing the beginnings of it over here, as well as on the other side of the pond.
No, I agree with that. Well, I mean, it's not just in the UK. Obviously, you've got Paris Super Comic-Con coming up soon as well. So these events are all backing up. It really is turning into a very close quarter calendar, and that is going to hurt when it comes to the events. I mean, 50% profit fall for Wizard World. That's a big thing. I'm also wondering if they have also been hit by the various controversies that have been, the lack of confidence in the brand, perhaps. What do you think?
That would make sense to me. I mean, I certainly did my research before I went into a fan expo event. I certainly did my research on them before I went to because I was thinking about buying a photo op here or there, doing this type of thing. I have I have complete confidence in them at this point. I think that everybody just has to look at the individual convention, and Wizard World is stepping up, and they're refunding, and they're taking care of people, and that's the report that we got back from David G. So, I got to think that it does affect the market. for all of the pop culture. The autograph, the celebrity cons,
Sure.
I think is where we're seeing the problems.
Yeah. I think also, like you say, I mean, the same names cropping up at every event, people will just pick and choose. And they'll just they'll find the ones that they will focus on. I mean, I was quite excited at the fact that Pearl Mackie is going to be coming to MCon for an appearance. At which point, we then started going through something that we're going to be getting into on a regular basis here on the show, which is Comic-Con talent additions and cancellations. At which point, you then notice that she's accepting every invitation. And will attend the opening of an envelope at this point. So, oh, no, you could just tell that she's taking the role, the 1 year role that she had on Doctor Who, and just going, I can get some pretty good vacation time out of this. So she's going to all sorts of events. I'm quite interested.
When you were talking about going to like Singapore Con and all of, they were getting some pretty good talent, in the Asian cons, I was like going, I do that. Yeah, I'd go over there, take the family, have a vacay, take a week off. It sounds like a brilliant idea to me.
If you can just take the reins just for a second, certainly when it comes to the Gen Con attendance, I just got a message I want to send someone. Sure.
It's going along with the Wizard World and the attendance for the celebrity cons. Gen Con was this past week or two, and they were reporting a 4% increase in turnstile folks. Turnstile numbers was up 4%. So they had about 5,000 more people go through and go into the convention. I think that in general, their 4-day attendance usually remains about the same, but I believe that they did have a unique visitors of it about 60,000, 62,000 people. So their market is strong, and I think what that goes to is the fact that they've developed a niche. There's no other conventions out there that are really like Gen Con. And I think that they know their market. They've been there. They've got dates for, I think, 20 years at the Indianapolis Convention Center. So they're playing to their strengths, and more power to them. I'm so glad that they've managed to keep it contained. The next topic that I had wanted to bring up, and Leonard's a little hesitant about this, so he's probably going to jump in at a moment's notice, is we did get some uncomfortable news about Joss Whedon, and his fan website has closed. This is on the back of a piece that was done that his ex-wife wrote, making certain allegations about Joss. And I think that the reason why I wanted to bring it up is so that it just kind of illustrates the point that these people are real people. They're artists. They've got their they've got their problems, and yes, there is no one person who's perfect, and we all know that. But for somebody who has held Joss in very high esteem, I was a little disheartened, but I still appreciate his works, and I will be there going and seeing the next movie that he directs and or writes.
I agree. I mean, the one thing I'll jump in on that is that I think you can divorce, to use the term, unfortunately, a person's work and their private life. It's difficult, but it can be done. When it's something of a legal matter, then obviously something that is rather difficult to do. Purely, I mean, I there's several examples of that which is difficult to Sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted because we may have a last-minute guest, so bear with me a second. Yeah, indeed, bear with me. But
I was pretty unhappy about the fact that the fan site shut down, because that's not about Joss, the person. That's about Joss's work. And I was disappointed that it was shut down, but I could understand why the people who run it did that, so that they wouldn't have to overly moderate people, because you don't want a lot of flaming troll wars going on.
Yeah, I mean, you could imagine they would have gotten a whole lot of traffic purely off the back of these, and it was allegations. It says a lot that the comment that they made on the site when they closed and shuttered Weednesk, that they said that it was purely about how they felt that the site was going to progress, that they felt that time to bring things to a close, and they didn't mention the allocations directly, but it does say a lot about the final paragraph when they talked about if you would like to donate to the support group, which was mentioned by Joss's ex in her post. Alyssa, I've just sent you a private message. If you could just have a look at that, please. Right, it's like you say, it's very difficult to defend. I mean, I was in the room for the Firefly anniversary panel, and I was in the room when he got his Inkpot Award, and I am a huge fan. I personally believe that he has created some incredible characters, some incredible feminist characters. I understand and appreciate people's concerns when you do read them on social media about his intentions when he writes those characters, and also the failings of those as feminist characters. But I'll be going to see Justice League, and well, then again, I'll be going to see Justice League anyway, just to see how the whole Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon combination is going to work, considering that it's also very possible that it may be the last decent WB DC film that we'll get, considering we're hearing these reports of the Joker films and the Batman standalone film. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, who knows?
I'm still holding on hope for Aquaman. What can I say?
I know. Oh, well, Aquaman will succeed purely on the sheer force of will that is Jason Momoa. So
yes, absolutely. I mean, after all, women are half of the population. So, but what's the next movies after that? Is the next one's coming out this year? Do you remember? I don't remember, so I can't speak to that.
It is purely Justice League at this point.
Yeah, Justice League.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we have had confirmations from WB before and DC before about things that we're going to be getting down the pipe. And then the plan changes 6 months later. I think when people are talking about these Harley Quinn Joker films and the Batman standalone film, I don't think anyone's really that convinced. So I think people will only believe that a film will come out in the DC extended universe when it's in the cinema. forget even being filmed. When it's in the cinema is when we'll believe it exists.
Yes, I know. WB. I mean, that's the problem with WB.
Yeah. Okay. Andrew Dickinson's asking the good question: will they can Batgirl, which was going to be Joss's next project? That is a very big question. Who knows? So yeah, we're trying to invite Ryan Jenkins, who is a comic artist. He's a cosplayer. He's also a staff member at Orbital Comics, and he has been attending London Super Comic-Con. So we're just trying to get him on board at this point. So bear with us. Right. Yeah, it's a difficult thing, but we will, of course, keep an eye on that. I think it's interesting to hear that we haven't had any response from Joss Whedon at this point. I mean, let me just check. I'm under the impression, or I was under the impression, that he hadn't tweeted since, that he had gone pretty much radio silent. Yes, he has. He went radio silent pretty much the morning of that post going up, which, considering that he has been quite verbose recently, certainly when it comes to his politics, but there we go. Okay, so that's that. We can get into this then, which is something that we're going to be doing on the show a little bit more regularly, which is talent confirmations and cancellations of shows coming up in the near future, which have been announced this week. We have had Rose City Comic-Con, which is going to be held not next weekend next, the 8th to the 10th of September, have confirmed Pearl Mackie from Doctor Who. Shocker or surprise. There we go. Jeremy Shada, who's a voiceover actor for Adventure Time, and also Carlos Valdez from The Flash. They have all been confirmed as special guests this week. New York Comic-Con have run a new series of announcements for guests this week, which can be found at newyorkcomiccon.com/guests. And they have confirmed this week Neil deGrasse Tyson, Joe Quinones, Missy Payne. Oh, look at that. You were happy about that, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Missy Payne, who's the Steven Universe cover artist. Ben Templesmith, who I'm excited about because I'm a big fan of his work. And also Mark Morales as well. All of these have been confirmed this week for New York Comic-Con. And a couple of UK confirmations that have come through this week. We had the MCon boys take to Facebook on Wednesday. Nicholas Brandon has been confirmed, obviously famous from a Joss Whedon creation, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, of course. He's confirmed as special guest at MCon Nottingham May next year, along with Chris Rankin from Harry Potter, Virginia Hay from Farscape. Those three will be joining LeVar Burton and Denise Cosby from Star Trek Next Generation, Emma Caulfield from Buffy, Eddie McClintock from Warehouse 13, Jason David Frank from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and Pearl Mackie from Doctor Who. So there you go. Yeah. Okay. And the one that was announced this morning. Now, this is off an event that took 2017 off. We were talking about this earlier, about this very cramped calendar for conventions. And the organizers for NICE, which takes place in Bedford, they decided to step away from the convention calendar, cancelling in 2017. They are returning in 2018 and confirmed their first guest, Donny Cates, who's the writer of two brilliant books currently running on Image Comics, which is God Country. If you've not checked God Country out yet, check that book out. That's incredible. And also Redneck as well, which is another fantastic book. Right, quick pocket review of Redneck. That is no, very quickly. It's a story set in the South with a besieged town which is being overrun by vampires. Page 1 starts in the middle of the siege. It gives you no run up to it. It just dives straight in. It's brilliantly written. It's fantastically drawn. Check that book out. Donny Cates has been confirmed as the first guest and the UK Con exclusive at NICE in Bedford next year. You can find out more at nicecon.co.uk. To the above of that, Graham Small also confirms that Marvel have announced that they are going to be attending London, MCM London, but doesn't know what that means. Quite right. They haven't been particularly vague with that announcement. It doesn't announce whether it's Marvel Studios, Marvel Comics, whether they're going to be having a booth, whether they're going to be having some kind of panel or talent appearance. They've been incredibly vague for now, but it is an official announcement that Marvel will be attending. This is kind of big news because Marvel, MCM haven't really attracted the big comic names. They have been more leaning towards the pop culture end of their con calendar and con talent appearances. So this is a very big thing that they are moving the talent pool from an actual big publisher. Marvel have announced they're coming to MCM Comic-Con. To the above, then, what we are going to be doing on An Englishman in San Diego is putting up a weekly post of Comic-Con talent additions and cancellations. If you spot anything, please do let me know on Twitter on Englishman SDCC, or indeed you can send it to tips@anenglishmaninsandiego.com. If you spot anything, let me know and we'll run it on the site. But that's what we're going to be doing every Thursday, a Con Talent additions and cancellations post. So there we go.
Nice. I'm glad we're doing a weekly. I'm glad you're going to be doing a weekly. I
think so, because it does keep people up to date with who they can see at these events. So that's cool.
I mean, and that's why I do the weekend TV. It's just, it just keeps people current and looking forward. And
you see, the thing, I mean, I wanted to do weekend comics, but I can't afford the comics. I'm so behind. My pull list is huge. I've got to go and get that sorted before it gets stupid. Terrible. But there we go.
Talk to them. Just talk to them. You've got to talk to them. The sooner you talk to them, the easier it will be.
I know. Okay, so you've got something here, a 9-question survey.
I'll explain it.
Go for it.
I'm getting ready to do my biannual look back at the past season article. And as a part of that, what I do is I put out a survey which asks people, hey, what are you watching? What did you like this past summer? What did you finish watching? Any second sophomore year shows that premiered last summer that you're still watching this summer? I mean, obviously we've got Game of Thrones and, the larger shows, but I'm talking about the new shows that came out. So I've got a survey that I'm posting a link for right now to people. It's a 9-question survey, and I appreciate just people's feedback on it. Go, just answer it. And if you don't have to answer any of the questions. So you can just skip things if you are like, I don't watch any of it, or add a question in there for none, or point out like like Michael P did. Oh, Alyssa, you forgot to add the second season of Expanse because to rely on Michael to be up on that sort of thing for me. So, but you can make changes like that, and I see that in the results. So, and we'll be tabulating those. I'm not sure when that article's coming out. I'm thinking probably the first or second week in September, because we've also got a fall premiere article coming out that will be happening the first part of August too. So, but for this week, oh my God, Game of Thrones final tonight.
Indeed. Has this thing been leaked yet?
I have no idea. I don't watch shows. Okay, I just don't do it because I like watching it on the big screen. I like watching it on the TV. Let's see, what does Andrew Dickinson says? Will HBO drop Confederacy from the Game of Thrones?
Oh, no, that's an interesting question. From what I can gather from the way they've been talking, no. Or certainly the showrunners are fully intending to keep going with it. The way that they've been behaving online, the way they've been talking, the way they've been conducting interviews, this is not something they're just going to scrap. It's a project that they will, if they'll run on HBO or they'll run somewhere else, I don't think that's going anywhere, personally.
And Leonard has spoken. So we do get a supersized edition of it this evening, and my son is up to speed, so I'm actually going to have somebody that I can watch Game of Thrones with. I'm thrilled. So, I mean, after last week's last couple of minutes, just oh my God, you just hear everybody, oh my God, in the Twitterverse.
Yeah.
The other thing we've got happening this week is a third season of Netflix's Narcos. I have not read this, and so I have not seen it. I don't know if anybody has.
It's, I mean, I caught the first season. What I was curious about it, because it's very much like having a ongoing series from Queen. The Queen. At the end of the day, it's not exactly a finite story. It concludes in history rather definite, but it is based around the story of Pablo Escobar. Season 1 did discuss that. I mean, I didn't watch further on beyond, but as far as I'm aware, it is about the life and misadventures of Pablo Escobar. And
I have no problem with finite series. You know that
I've no problem with series with a closed end, but when obviously something is popular and then the studios want to carry the story forward, to where? At the end of the day, the story kind of it has.
Oh my God. Yes, then we get the Hobbit
or the Hobbit.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, we're getting into a whole other conversation now.
Yeah.
Apparently, Graham Small, it has moved past Escobar now, so it's going to follow on the story about the fight of the DEA against the cartels. All right, okay, so no, yeah, season 2. All right, that's a spoiler. We'll leave that there. Like I say, the story of Pablo Escobar has a rather certain definitive end. Apparently, that was covered in season 2. Anyway, moving on.
There's not a lot happening this week, to be honest with you. And I just kind of tying into that survey that I'm doing. There is a suggestion, since it's coming up to a 3-day weekend for us here in the States next weekend, I think, that there's a bunch of shows that you may want to catch up on and clean off your DVR. Mr. Mercedes, The Mist, I highly recommend. Will, I love. A Handmaid's Tale, Blood Drive, The Strain, Glow. The Glow is the one about the female roller derby.
Glamorous ladies of wrestling.
Right. Which, is, I love it. It's I've watched the first couple of 3 ones and I want to get back to it and finish it because it's that good. I'm still talking about it months later. Of course, Defenders. The Tick landed last week, so if you haven't caught that one, do so. And let's see, Michael Leventhal also suggested the Defiant Ones. Was very good and recommends people check that one out. There's also, if you don't want to get involved in this series, there's What Happened to Monday and War Machine. Again, I've talked about all of these before. There's also Preacher, Donovan, Dark Matter, Winona Earp, and Killjoys, but those are all longer running shows, so people know about those already. We say goodbye to Killjoys, Animal Kingdom, Queen of the South, and your favorite, Hootin' and the Lady, this week.
Yeah, okay. Considering I'm stunned that it's still running today is beyond me.
Well, no, it's just getting a repeat here in the States in case it gets any traction, because we all know we have different opinions this side of the pond from yours.
Yeah. Dan Berry is correcting me. It's the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. Number one, I didn't realize that Dan was such a wrestling fanatic, and number 2, it's nice to know that he likes watching women in leotards throw themselves about a bit. So hey, whatever floats your boat, mate. Whatever floats your boat.
I get to do it every week with football. Come on. No problem with that. Watching.
Fantastic. Okay. Something that you haven't mentioned, and I'm stunned that you haven't mentioned about next week.
Next week.
Next Sunday on this show, I will be bringing my review of Inhumans episode 1. It is hitting IMAX, and I've got my tickets bought, and I will be heading, and I will be seeing that at Sheffield, and for better or for worse, I will be bringing my review of that particular
I have not
series.
mentioned that because it actually premieres, while it premieres in the theaters next week, it doesn't actually drop until I believe the following week.
Cool.
And he's looking up the dates just to double check me, I guarantee it. As am I.
Okay.
Make
But
it
no, like I say, it premieres on IMAX next week, and yeah, I will be bringing my review next Sunday.
I'm
So
looking
there we go.
forward to hearing what you think about it. Very much so.
Cool.
So
Right.
tag me when you do your review.
Will do. Oh well, I'll be periscoping, of course. Yeah. So what the hell?
Do the whole
It's me. Of course, I'll be periscoping. So
So
I'll
one,
be coming out. I'll be coming out of that, and I'll give my instant thoughts on the show.
one of the things that I wanted to say to people about Inhumans, because it's been getting a lot of, it seems like a lot of people are slamming it, mostly because of Medusa's hair, and what they showed. And I don't, what I overheard some people say who saw it at San Diego Comic-Con was that it wasn't finished yet. They hadn't
Work in
finished.
progress, absolutely.
So, keep an open mind, and just because, people have been talking about it doesn't mean that it's the finished product.
Correct. Okay, so that's Week in TV. Just a final couple of things on our shopping list that we want to just wrap up on. Yeah, we were trying to get Ryan on, but he was actually just getting back from London Super Comic-Con, and it was a bit of a trek to get through London. They've had some issues with terms of trains in the capital, so people getting back from London was a bit awkward. So there we go. At Karen's session, I've seen no trailer for Inhumans. Staying away from it. Okay, just going in straight. Go for it. Go for it, girl. Excellent stuff. So yeah, the other things that we've got are something that's starting on An Englishman in San Diego next year. Is I'm going to be adding as part of the directory for San Diego Comic-Con is a hotels list, a separate series of posts for each hotel, which will allow people more information about the layouts, about the features, about what a hotel can provide for you. So there's going to be maps, pictures, photos, and reviews. And this is where we now call on you guys. I'm going to be putting a post up as well, putting up requests. But what I'm looking for is reviews of the hotels that you've been staying at in San Diego Comic-Con this year. We're wanting recent reviews, okay, of San Diego Comic-Con 2017 of the hotels. If you could send them to hoteldirectory@anenglishmaninsandiego.com. Only needs to be a paragraph. We're not talking full essays, just your thoughts and your impressions of the hotels that you stayed at this year. If you could send them through, we're going to start putting those posts together so that then people can have it's almost going to be like a mini Yelp for the various hotels of San Diego Comic-Con. We're not talking the condos. We're not talking the individual places. It is more the ones that are recommended and indeed part of the hotel sale. So if you'd like to send them through to hoteldirectory@anenglishmaninsandiego.com, we'd love to take those on board.
We've got a bunch, if you want to just verify some, we've got a bunch of reviews of hotels on the forum too.
Excellent stuff.
They're done by individuals, and Angela Copley has been a spearhead behind this project and has really put order to them. So it's a it's a way of getting some information out there too.
Cool.
So,
Dan Berry, I hear the Horton Grand Hotel is haunted. If that's the case, I was hoping to perhaps host the Englishman tea party there. But hey, you know what? That might be if it's haunted, it's haunted. What the hell?
that's good to me.
Cool. Okay, and I think last but not least on our shopping list before we wrap things up is the news that hit the UK early this morning, which means it would have been late last night in the US, which is the passing of Tobe Hooper. Tobe Hooper, this has not been a great year for horror film fans. Obviously, Tobe Hooper was an influential film director who has pretty much defined horror in American cinema in terms of putting films out there which even the classification board had no clue how to put their stamp on where his work was involved. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course, is something which just will stay indelibly in the mind of anybody who has watched it. But I'm more of a fan as well of those things which have just been kind of on the line, on those things that just seep into your consciousness. Poltergeist. If you watch that film, so it's only at the back end when that really turns into a true horror film. Beyond that, it's just something that seeps under the skin. It's just nothing but pure atmosphere. It's what the guy did supremely well. And for me, his crowning achievement, Salem's Lot, which is still one of the... I mean, I know that there's been a couple of posts that I've been watching this week, actually, and I'm certain that they're going to be retracting their statements very, very quickly, because there was a post I saw this week on YouTube. Is Salem's Lot actually that scary?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's really nasty. It's a gorgeous piece of work. But one of the quintessential, and it's also summed up in Texas as well. There's a scene in Salem's Lot where the master, the main big bad villain, is in a room with fluoro lighting just out in the open. And it's this kind of Nosferatu-shaped vampire, just in ugly lighting, stood by a kitchen table. And it is one of the scariest things because it's there, it's present, and it feels real. And he excelled in stuff like that. So no, for Tobe Hooper fans, our sympathies, of course, going out to friends and family. Your thoughts, Alyssa?
Oh, Poltergeist, an iconic, pivotal movie of my childhood. That's the one with the girl at the television, the little girl at the television. Yep. How can you not? I mean,
the thing is that the film was produced by Steven Spielberg, and people kind of, when you look at the family structure in that film, and when you look at some of the way that the way that it's structured, people did seem to think that it was a Steven Spielberg film. If you look at the rest of Tobe Hooper's work, Poltergeist was all him. So no, I'm a fan, and I will remain a fan, and we're going to miss him.
That's the kind of horror movies that I enjoy, are the subtle, not the Chainsaw Massacre. I never was a huge fan of that. But I can understand people being it, and no judge and all that sort of stuff. But I do want to make one correction here. I had mentioned earlier that the Inhumans air next week. They air on Friday, the 29th of September. So we won't be getting an actual broadcast presentation of the Inhumans until then. So they are going to be on Friday nights at 8 or 9 o'clock. The first one is going to be a 2-hour thing, but I'll be mentioning that in a couple of weeks. Cool. So I'm interested in your earlier reviews of it.
Well, like I say, it's I'll be doing my usual Periscope thing after the actual showing, but I'll try and get something up on the post as well on the site. So excellent stuff. Yeah, absolutely. No, let's wrap things up and say thank you very much indeed to everyone for watching. Thank you very much indeed for bearing with the way that the show's been presented this week. But thank you very much indeed for joining us. Alyssa, where can people find you online?
I'm just going through the Q&A just one more time. Angela Copley, the clown doll in Poltergeist, scared the living heck out. I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
Life Force.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's very quickly talk about that. I mean, if we're talking about clowns very, very quickly, I'm going to go see it. The reviews have been off the scale for this thing. Looking forward to that. But anyway, okay, carry on.
Carry on. So people can find me at Friends of CCI by Twitter, and they can find me on my site, friendsofcc.com.
Excellent stuff.
And support us via Patreon.
You can support us at patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. You can follow all of my misadventures at Englishman SDCC, including on the old Periscope as well. It kind of cross-posts to Twitter, but certainly for the Inhumans, you can kind of see my live response to that if you want to follow me on there. Please, also something that we do keep forgetting. At the end of the day, we're hosting this on YouTube. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It does. We've been posting some stuff throughout the course of the week, and we're going to continue to do some stuff beyond just the Sunday show. So please do subscribe, so it lets you know when we're going live and doing stuff on YouTube. Please do like the channel. Please do subscribe, and yeah, please do support us in that way. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this week. We're back next week. Oh, we've got one more thing. Go for it.
I think next week, are we not having a live report from Long Beach Comic-Con?
I believe so, yes. We are kind of putting that together. But yes, hopefully we're going to have someone going to be joining us from Long Beach who's going to be letting us know.
I believe I've been kind of pestering you. So
fair enough.
Okay. It's up to you to announce it. I have to let you do the announcing, but we are.
We'll be doing a live report from Long Beach Comic-Con next Sunday.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Take care. We will see you next Sunday. We'll also get the audio version of this up in the next couple of days, and hopefully we will see you next Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, I got to hang up. Sorry. I forgot I was